find this guy early and often.
It'll be second down, and remember, they can pick up a first without scoring. Defense trying to keep this offense from getting a line on who to block. They'll run the option. And he'll step into the end zone. Touchdown, Tigers!
And this offense is so difficult to stop, especially in this area of the field, because of this QB's running ability, whether it's between the tackles or on the perimeter on designed QB runs. They show it right there.
And he made the extra point without problem. About to kick it off after punching it in for the touchdown. He'll bring it out. It's Sategna. That gamble did not pay off as they bring him down at the 12-yard line. The Hogs send that offense back onto the field. After that last pick, David, they really need to take care of the ball this time.
No doubt. And Palmer, I want to know what spur.
He's running free down the middle. The 40. The 20. 10. And he got away from the defense and takes it in. Touchdown, Arkansas.
One of the reasons this offense is so exciting to watch, they've got guys that are dangerous after the catch. If this quarterback gets through his progression, David, gets you in stride, these guys will take it to the house.
Man, it's your job to do the rest, right? You hit me in stride where I don't have to stop running. I don't have to break down. It makes it so easy. The connection between quarterback, wide receiver, you can tell this is a good one, and that's why they got 6 on that play.
He's dropped behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of 3. They just cut into this deficit, and now they're trying to get the ball back early with an onside kick. Oh, looks like the offense was able to recover it.
And these coaches talked about being aggressive, and they were. First quarter, you're going with the onside already. I would say it's a little bit careless, a little bit reckless. Onside kicks are not high percentage, but they went for it, they failed, and now let's see how they respond.
They're going to throw it to start the drive. He slings it deep to the left. He's got it. And he just kept running, and he ran away from the crowd, and he'll take it in. Touchdown, Tigers! Lining up to tack one more onto that lead. And with the extra point, they push the lead out a little further. That's the kind of drive everybody loves. So see quarterback, one snap, put it in the end zone. Lining up to cover the kick after that touchdown drive. Fielded in the end zone. It's Sategna. He stopped short of the 20 at the 19 and probably wishes he'd just taken the touchback. And Arkansas ready to send out this offense. There's certainly still a hill to climb, but they've got to make sure these drives pay off. Got a touchdown last time. Can they back it up here?
Well, and it's amazing in a football game how sometimes they'll surprise you with what you do. Once you get settled and you realize what's going on, now I'm comfortable with it. Jesse, this offense looked comfortable on its last drive.
They sure did. It looked like they started to find some momentum. So now it's on this defense to stop that, all right? You're a little bit upset based on what just happened the previous drive. You've got to bow up again and go back to what was working earlier in this game.
On 3rd and long, no secret what he needs here. And they won't be able to connect downfield, looking for a big-time play.
3rd and long situations are really hard to convert. The defense knows it's going to be passed. The pass rushers are getting upfield. You're under pressure. You don't have timing. And as a result now, 4th down.
Has this head coach lost his mind? Does he know where the ball is on the field? He's going for it this close to his own end zone. On 4th down, he'll try to toss it. Throws for the tight end. Makes the grab, and he's got the first. first.
Hey, man, that was just perfect execution offensively. On a fourth down like that, if you're going to throw a completion, get the first and keep the drive alive, QB's got to be great with his eyes. He's got to throw it on time. His target has to be in the perfect place at the perfect time, and you got to be able to haul it in. They checked all the boxes on that fourth down.
They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one. The Razorbacks will hustle to the line. Back to throw, it's Green. Flushed out of the pocket. And he's got it inside the 35. Lots of green grass as he gets it to the 31. And the Razorbacks have this offense rolling. Off the play fake on first down, wants to throw. Can't find his man as he took a shot trying to deliver that football, and it'll be second down. Couldn't make the connection last time. Let's see if they throw it again. Receiver looks it in. It's complete. And he was fortunate not to lose yardage on that play, able to wedge it back to the line of scrimmage. On third down, he drops the throw. Moves away as he feels pressure. The throw. Zings it complete to the right. And Shore tackling there to keep him from getting to the first down marker.
Yeah, he was able to make one guy miss, but he had to make two in order to pick up that first down. It was a nice individual effort, just not good.
Now on fourth down and 5, they'll try to move the chains. Motion from the offense. They're throwing for it on fourth down. What a job to lay out and make the catch.
And the defender just way too handsy on that last play. You could see all the contact as the ball was in the air. He simply can't do it, and the referee's caught it.
Time winding down in the quarter as they come to the line. Trying to run, it's Jackson. They'll make the stop behind the line of scrimmage, and that'll bring us to the end of the first quarter.
LSU 21, Arkansas 6.
Second down now as they're ready to go back to work. Dropping back, it's Green. Lets it go to the end zone. And he's got it! Touchdown, Razorbacks! Let's see if they can roll snake eyes in a good way and get the deuce. Snap in the shotgun. And they almost came up with that pick in the end zone. What a stop that would have been. A little surprised to see them line up for an onside kick here. Down 2 possessions, but a lot of time to play. Cool as a cucumber as the hands team makes a sure catch.
And you don't see a lot of these. You don't see a lot of onside kicks earlier in the game, especially in the second quarter. You still feel each other out. You're still getting into the game. You don't want to give away that momentum, but that's exactly what they did by failing on that onside kick.
He wants to start this drive with a pass. Got his man downfield. And they'll finally catch up to him, but not before a big chunk of yardage is picked up. And LSU starting to get that passing attack cranked up.
And this is a unit that typically LSU is as good as they are at quarterback. We know they're going to be physical. We know they got athletes all over the field. But when they get really good quarterback play, those teams are really special.
Trying to find his man on first down. throws to the wideout. Catch in the middle, it's Lacy. So they'll decline the penalty, pleased with the results of that last play. So now with 1st and goal, let's see what LSU does here. Quarterback checking the play. Dropping back, it's Nussmeier. Hit hard just as he released it on 1st down and just couldn't get it to the receiver.
It doesn't take this defense a lot of time to get to the quarterback, man. They've got speed all over the place. They hit him so quickly, and because of that, the ball falls incomplete.
On 2nd down, they'll take to the air. Coming after it. And the Heat gets there, and they get him down at the 14-yard line. They've gotten pushed back, but it's still 3rd and goal. Looking downfield, and he needs a bunch. And he was drilled just as he released the pass. It's incomplete. They'll send out the kicker to try to salvage this drive.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if the offense was expecting man coverage that time. 3rd and long in field goal range, you're expecting it to be zone. Instead, they lock them up man-to-man, everybody on an island, everybody won. They get the incompletion, now setting up.
The Hogs send that offense back onto the field. That last drive really productive. David wound up with a touchdown. They'll try to do it again.
Yeah, so I don't expect this offense to change too much, Reese. They had a great drive. They got the touchdown, everything working. I would expect them to keep pushing this ball downhill.
And just imagine if they could put another touchdown on the board right here. They could capture so much momentum in this game with back-to-back TDs.
Turns it on in midfield. He found plenty of room, and he gets it to the 39-yard line. The Razorbacks moving quickly to the line.
Well, on that one, they decide to attack the left outside on the ground. You see the speed by the ball carrier there, Reese, picking up a huge chunk of yards.
I can't imagine any reason they wouldn't just run that play again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why not just go back to the well one more time?
Looking downfield, it's Green. He looks that one in nicely. They make the stop, but not before he takes a chunk out of what they need to move the sticks. We've reached the 2-minute warning, and this thing has been one-sided, and they hope to at least have something to feel good about going into halftime. 3rd and short, coming from the 34. You wonder if this is 4-down territory. From the gun, wants to pass. Throws to the tight end. Makes a connection. And after that pitch and catch, he's already over 200 yards, and we're in the first half, Jesse.
Man, Reese, he's dialed in right now. He's really doing a nice job seeing the field, reading coverages, and finding his open guy.
He wants to throw. He'll take a shot. Snagged in the end zone. Touchdown, Arkansas. No backs with the quarterback as they line up for the 2. The snap sets up the throw. Looking to buy time. He's got it in the end zone. 2-point conversion is good, and it is a 1-point game. About to kick it away after scoring the touchdown. The ball bounces through the end zone, and it will be a touchback. LSU will dive into the playbook here on offense. You want to talk about taking the wind out of your sails. Drive the ball down the field and miss the field goal, David.
You know what? Don't leave it up to kickers. Execute better offensively. I think you move the ball nice. You got to keep...
Got a lot of running room. Inside the 30. He was smelling that end zone, but they get him down at the 4 after the big pass play.
I know it's early in the game, but defensively after that play, you know you have to tackle the catch. When this guy gets the ball in his hands, he is so dangerous after the fact.
And he takes it in for the score. Touchdown, Tigers! Play the analytics here, and you go for 2. Looking to throw, it's Nussmeier. Moving away from pressure. He's got it. 2-point try is good as they build on this lead. So they got the touchdown, and as they kick off, really important for the defense to shut them down here. Coming out with it, it's Sategna. They drag him down at the 22. He gambled for the big return out of the end zone and came up a little short. And Arkansas ready to send out this offense. Not a lot of time left here in the half. Let's see if they can cut into this lead.
And this drive isn't a must score, but man, you look at the scoreboard. You're down 2 scores. Jesse, you got to...
What a grab along the left sideline. Got the foot down in a strong throw. Put it right on the money. And the Razorbacks want to crank the tempo. They'll throw it on first down. Pulls it in. It's Brown. And he'll run across the sidelines after the good gain.
Real smart play. Great job. Get the positive yards, and then get Joe Rudy out of bounds.
Picked up some yardage with that completion. Now second down. He's looking to throw. Oh, he wants it all. And that one's incomplete. Worth taking a shot there, but couldn't hook up.
Man, the defense is making it tough on this quarterback early. They already have an interception. They almost came away with another one there. They're doing a great job reading his eyes and breaking on the ball.
On 3rd and short, they'll try to pick it up with the pass. He's got it in the end zone. Touchdown, Razorbacks. And now they'll empty the backfield for the 2-point try. Wide receiver shows motion. Back to pass, it's Green. On the run, still looking. Throw into the end zone, and it's picked off. So they got the touchdown now, going to put it in the hands of their defense to finish off this half. The ball squirts through the end zone. That'll be a touchback. They'll bring it out to the 25. Bayou Bengals will run the offense out onto the field. This has been a track meet running up and down the field so far, Jesse.
It's amazing for this offense, right? Score a touchdown, go try to get a rest on the sideline. It feels like you blink and you're right back on the field having to go score another one, David. It just feels like it's going to be that kind of game.
Well, so which defense can kind of change their identity a little bit, get more aggressive? You're giving up yards and touchdowns anyways. Who can get aggressive and maybe create a turnover?
It must be nice for this quarterback knowing he's got this type of athlete playing the tight end position. He can work the middle of the field for him. He's a guy who can stretch it vertically as well, but this is a guy the QB will look for early and often in this game.
The receivers often will run their route based on a side adjustment. He's going to pass. Unloads to the wideout. A beautifully placed ball to the outside and the toe drag for the big pickup.
And this has got to be so demoralizing for this defense right now, having given up multiple first downs on this drive. Somebody on defense has to step up, make a play, and stop the bleed.
Looking to move it through the air. Fires to the wideout. Pulls it in. Finally run out of bounds, but he has this offense rolling with a first down.
And the quarterback knew exactly where he wanted to go with the football, had time, spins the ball deep. Nice job by this offense, understanding what the defense is giving them and creating the explosive play.
They're in the red zone, and they'll pass it. Going for 6. And he really wanted to get the touchdown there, but it's incomplete.
You simply don't see that very often. A quarterback of this guy's caliber missing a guy wide open in the end zone. He makes those throws in his sleep.
And as the first half draws near to a close, here comes the field goal unit. It is good. So that'll do it here in the first half. Stay tuned. Halftime is coming. LSU will put foot to leather to start the second half. He'll bring it out. It's Sategna. I know he thinks he can house it. But sometimes you just have to take a knee as he stopped at the 14. The Hogs send that offense back onto the field. If they're going to get on top in this game, they're going to have to find a way to get the running game going in the second half.
Agree, so it can create some more balance, some more unpredictability. I feel like this defense has got a good beat on what they're doing, especially if they don't mix it up a little bit. So I do look for a little second half running the football.
Is they just got to be more physical. I don't think this is a scheme question about trying different run plays. I think it's up to the big fellas up front. They've just got to make the decision that they're going to be tougher here in the second half so that they can win this game.
You open a drive like that and you've got some operating room. It's first down from the 38. Out of the gun, they'll run it inside. And you can forget running in the middle against this defense.
It's hard to run on a defense that comes off the ball like that and runs to the football like that. Good luck. No holes anywhere.
The defense going to stop the clock for the timeout. They want to make sure they have everybody on the same page. Second down coming up. Dropping back, it's Green. Getting some heat. That pass is incomplete, and they're probably fortunate that it wasn't knocked free for a fumble. They line up, and it is a long way to the sticks from here. On third down, going up top. That pass not close as he got drilled trying to deliver it, and it'll bring up fourth down.
And finally, the defense is able to get some pressure on this quarterback. They had been trying all game long different ways to affect him, weren't able to get there. But on that play, because of the pressure, it affected his accuracy, and that's why the ball falls incomplete.
This offense has already converted once on 4th down. Can they do it again? He'll try to throw and pick up the 1st down. The completion well past the sticks. A quick tackle made, but he's got plenty for the 1st down.
That's a great example of the receiver knowing exactly where the 1st down marker is. He got the depth he needed to get, so once he was able to make the catch, he already knew he had it, and now a fresh set of downs.
He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple. The Razorbacks in the hurry-up. They'll leave it with him. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
Well, you live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. That time, the defense called it at the perfect time. The linebacker able to make the stop on a short game.
And from the offense's perspective, that's probably making a little something out of nothing. On 3rd and long, he'll need to loosen up that arm. And it's picked off. And they'll close in on him after a good return on the interception.
3rd and Africa is extremely difficult. When I know it's a passing situation, I get to rush the passer and pin my ears back. I get to put more DBs on the field to drop back and really play pass coverage. You can tell the offense was trying to force it, trying to get that 1st down, makes the big mistake.
Quarterback will audible. Looking to throw, it's Nussmeier. Throws to the wideout. On target to the left. Well, LSU receivers are known for their swagger, and that is swagger well earned after that one.
You go outside and you make plays. Like, listen, you have swag, you have confidence, and you usually get a little bit loud. Reese and be like, listen, feed me the rock. So many great LSU receivers in the past, and it's because of that swag.
All kinds of room to throw that one in there. Chopping up this defense, and they've got it all the way down to the 23. Just about any LSU offense will make you hold your breath when they play pitch and catch.
Yeah, just such elite playmakers usually, just such speed. And listen, when you're a defense, speed kills. And LSU, no matter who plays quarterback,
throws toward the end zone. And it's caught! Touchdown LSU! My philosophy on going for 2 is only when you have to. He's looking to throw. Almost had the completion, just missed it. Almost ready to kick it away after scoring a touchdown. He'll bring it out. It's Sategna. Not nearly as much as he had hoped when he brought it out of the end zone. He'll be stopped at the 15. And Arkansas ready to send out this offense. After throwing the pick on the last drive, need to take care of the ball this time, Jesse.
We're going to find out a lot about this quarterback right here, too. How does he fight through adversity after that last drive?
Yeah, clear the mechanism, move on. That's a part of it, right? If you're going to be a great player, you got to learn how to handle these mistakes and move on.
And the Razorbacks racing to the line in the hurry-up. Back to throw, it's Green. Looking to the big tight end. It's caught. He's run out of bounds, but a big play on that one, and it'll be a 1st down.
And this defense is going to have their hands full because they're going to need to be comfortable with guys one-on-one on islands in the perimeter of the field, and they're just going to have to make better plays than what we saw right there. They knew this offense was going to try to be aggressive. Got to need better effort in the back end for this defense moving forward.
He'll come out throwing on first down. He fires it out to the right. And he throws another interception, his third of the night. Not much of a chance on the return, but they'll have the ball at the 33.
Well, he was rolling to his right. Because of that, I don't know if it affected the timing between him and his wide receiver. They just weren't on the same page on that one as the defense comes away with the INT.
LSU will dive into the playbook here on offense. Now the quarterback changing the original play call. They're going to open this drive with a pass. With the catch, it's Sampson. He's brought down quickly. Minimal gain there, still a bit short of the first down. Here comes the offense on second down. He's looking to throw. He tosses one high and deep down the left side. Oh, did he toast the coverage? Got it deep downfield. And he takes it all the way. They couldn't stop him. Touchdown, Bayou Bengals. Getting aggressive here and going for two. Trying to punch it in. He's not going to make it. Stop short of the goal line, and they are unable to extend this lead any further. About to kick it off after punching it in for the touchdown.
Arkansas, 26.
Fielded in the end zone, it's Sategna. I know he thinks he can house every return, but sometimes you just have to take a knee as he stopped at the 14. The Hogs send that offense back onto the field. Mistakes are going to happen, as they did on that last drive. Now, how will they respond, Jesse?
And this is the kind of guy who's going to take full accountability. That was my bad. That's on me. I'm about to lead this offense now down the field and score some points.
Dang, Palmer, I wish I would have played with you. I didn't play with many quarterbacks that were just like, yeah, my bad. Hey, guys, I got this. Sorry about that. It was more, we should have ran a better route.
And here comes the offense on second down.
It's just so nice to have a QB under center. Nowadays in football, you can trust these guys. You put so much on their plate.
Trying to get behind the defense. Makes the grab inside the 30. And he'll take it to the house. He got loose. Touchdown, Arkansas.
And this receiver is on fire. He's got all the skills that you look for in a big-time target. That's already his second touchdown of the game.
Scanning the field, it's Green. And a dangerous pass there, almost threw a pick in the end zone. Still a lot of time to go here in the third quarter, but they want the ball back right now with an onside kick. They were ready for the onside kick and executed perfectly, and they secure the football. First down here for the offense. Handoff from the gun. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that.
That's the end of the third quarter of play. With the score, LSU 44, Arkansas 32.
Second down here as they go back to work after the break. Receivers telling the quarterback what they see. He wants to throw here on second down. Complete to the right. Ripping through the defense and getting it all the way down to the 24-yard line.
There are a lot of offensive coordinators out there. A similar situation with a lead like this. They'd definitely be running the ball at this point. They'd probably take their starting quarterback out of the game potentially, but not this unit. They are still staying aggressive. They're still taking shots. They're just trying to light up the scoreboard.
Inside the 25, they'll snap it from the 24. First down. He's looking to throw it. A shot toward the end zone. And he's got it. Touchdown, LSU. And Let's hold on just a minute here as the officials are going to have a second look. And the play will stand after the replay booth just does a little double checking to make sure. They fake it, pitch it to the tight end. He runs into the end zone on the fake. What a gutsy call to come up with a two-point conversion there. Lining up to cover the kick after that touchdown drive. From inside his own 15, looking for a crevice. And he'll be brought down after a solid effort on that return. And Arkansas ready to send out this offense. To the air, it's Green. He's going to throw deep right side. And the DB making a huge play, knocking it away downfield.
It's a nice adjustment by the defense here. With a big lead in the game, you're putting extra DBs on the field, knowing the offense has to throw to get back in this one in the fourth quarter. So your best cover guys on the field, and they force an incompletion on the last one.
2nd and 10, he'll throw again. Lets it go. Grabbed in the middle, it's Jackson. They've got the defense reeling right now with that big play to the 29. The Razorbacks headed quickly to the line. And the best thing about this, the offense can't worry about the scoreboard. Just keep trying to make plays like that, Jesse.
I know a lot of people in the stadium probably feel like this game is over. Maybe it's been over for a while, Reese, but don't tell that to this quarterback and his teammates. They're still out there scrapping and clawing.
1st and goal, and a great opportunity to slice into this lead. From the gun. And he got smacked just as he released the pass. It's incomplete.
Well, it's been that kind of day here tonight. They just have not been able to find a rhythm and establish that throwing the football. Part of it has been wide receivers and quarterbacks not being on the same page, but
he makes the catch at the end zone. Touchdown, Razorbacks. And they'll try to tack on 2. Here's the snap, looking to throw. And he had it for a second, but it just dribbled out of his hands.
That keeps the score. LSU 52, Arkansas 38.
They are running out of time here. They need to get the ball back. They'll line up for the onside kick. That's why they call them the hands team. They're able to secure the onside kick. Bengals will run the offense out onto the field. They'll try to keep this clock moving on the ground. Nowhere to run on that one. He loses 4 on the carry. 2nd down here, and maybe they've got time to get one more snap off before the 2-minute warning. We've reached the 2-minute warning, and this offense will be quite content just to drain the rest of the time away. I think they'd keep it on the ground here to drain as much time as possible off that clock and hold on to this lead. Quarterback reacting to what the D is showing. Looking for a man. It's Nussmeier. It's complete on the right side. They bring him down, but a solid pickup to put them in position to pick up a 1st down. Defense trying to come up with a stop on 3rd and short from the 37. They'll try the run. He gets it so close to the 1st down marker, but I think he's going to be a touch short. And it comes as absolutely no surprise. The offense will stay on the field and go for it on 4th and inches. He'll try to throw and pick up the 1st down. Got it past the marker. And that's where they'll mark him, but a chunk play and they pick up a 1st down. The Tigers come to the line with a new set of downs. Timeout is called. Clock stops. 13 seconds to go in the game.
LSU.
Snap's going to come from the 23 on 1st and 10. From the gun. Give on the inside. And a nice run there before the defense finally makes the stop. They'll call timeout with 9 seconds left on the clock. Operating in the red zone here on 2nd down. They'll run it in the red zone. It's Durham. They'll use the timeout. 6 seconds left on the clock. And here we go. Final play of the game right here. Quarterback changing the plays at the line. Looking to throw, it's Nussmeier. Flushed out of the pocket. And that play just never got started as he's run out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. No matter how much college football changes, realignment, all of that kind of stuff, rivalries are consistent, and winning rivalry games, well, that's just the best.
Because they hate each other so much. So you take the field against your rival, and you're able to put forth a performance like that. That is worth its weight in gold, David. Unbelievable effort here by the winning team, and bragging rights now for a while.
Bragging rights for a while. It's a fun thing to be able to accomplish. Now we also got to take in the next couple games, because this is always, there's a letdown that naturally happens after these big rivalry wins. We feel like our chest is poked out. We got to look on to the next game, focus in on this next one.
That's going to do it for us from here. For Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, I'm Reese Davis, and this has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.